Former National Police Commissioner Khomotso Phahlane and 5 co-accused is set to resume in March next year. They appeared at the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court this morning on charges of money laundering and fraud. They are accused of corruption relating to a 54 million rand IT tender. Newzroom Afrika's Govan Whittles is in Pretoria and he attended that court hearing. Govan, a very good morning to you. So, 2 quick questions in one. The ID, that's the Investigative Directorate of the NPA, what kind of corruption do they say they uncovered here, and what was Khomotso Phahlane's role in it? Let's start there.
Well, only the corruption that they claim to have uncovered here and what they hope to prove is related to how a 54 million rand IT tender for essentially procuring spy equipment was processed. Firstly, the National Police Commissioner is accused of approving it irregularly on an urgent basis, and that was a full year after the Fees Must Fall protest had already started. He claimed that it was necessary to buy this urgent rip-jar program to monitor the Fees Must Fall protesters and their leaders. The ID saying at that point it was already not urgent, and that of course is the one area. The second is that the company that provided this equipment, as well as another program called Daedalus, which was used to encrypt the telephone conversations of Khomotso Phahlane and other crime intelligence officials while he was under investigation for the blue light tender, was also provided at a time when the ID says also was not urgent, and secondly was specifically used to shield them from the investigation into the blue light tender. Because of this program that encrypted their telephone calls, the investigators weren't able to get their cell phone records, and it's significantly prevented them from actually determining culpability on the part of the former top cop Khomotso Phahlane, the National Commissioner. In the dock as well is the former CFO of the Secret Service Fund, as well as the former head of IT at Crime Intelligence, and the former head of Crime Intelligence herself, General Agnes Machele. So they're accused of essentially overseeing this corrupt procurement of these 2 programs at a time when the former Commissioner Phahlane was already under investigation for that blue light tender. And the state says they're confident about their case here. They're ready to go to trial. They hope that next time they get to court, they will be ready to start the trial. That's, of course, if Phahlane's lawyers and the lawyers for the other former top cops don't request additional information about the state's case, but they have until January to do so. And we spoke to the spokesperson for the Investigative Directorate a short while ago about the strength of their case and what they believe will happen next. Let's take a look.
The appearance today was to set the pre-trial. It's going to take place next year in March. But what was also important is that we got some way forward where all the parties agreed that by the 30th of January, that if there are requests for any further particulars, they should be made before then. Also for us on our end to also tie up any other loose ends, so that by the time pre-trial starts in March, which is a provisional date, we then know what is next, whether the matter is then transferred to the High Court or not.
Right, so that's the state's case, Govan. Also, another interesting element about this case is that another person who appeared alongside these former top cops is a businessman who allegedly has links to the current serving commissioner of the police, the National Commissioner Khomotso, rather. Will you remind us of his name? I've completely forgotten his name now, but that's the current National Commissioner of the Police, Mr. Masemola. Explain to us who this person is.
That's right. General Fani Masemola, when pressed on this issue just a few weeks ago, earlier in the year, he said that he doesn't believe he's the right one to answer questions about the NPA's investigating of his alleged links to Inbanathan Kastai. This is a businessman who's accused of providing a cover quote in this case. A cover quote essentially is when the 3 quotes are sourced by the government departments. The one that was successful was accompanied by another quote, which is supposed to be independent, which the Investigative Directorate says came from Mr. Kastai, who's a businessman who's done business with the SAPS, and essentially was given just to ensure that the primary quote was accepted. That's what he's accused of here in this case. In the other case, Sunday World reporting that Mr. Kastai is allegedly being linked to General Fani Masemola through allegedly providing, among other things, Louis Vuitton bags, Oli. And this is the case which is under investigation, for which the National Police Commissioner's Office and the Police in general say they can't say much about until the NPA decides what to do with this case. But it has become a cloud hanging over the current National Police Commissioner, and it is one that the law enforcement agencies are being pressed to move on as quickly as possible to provide certainty about whether there is indeed a case here. Importantly, the statements so far have not indicated whether they do have sufficient proof that this businessman did indeed provide, among other things, these Louis Vuitton bags and gifts to the current National Commissioner. Another interesting bit here, Oli, is that Zola Majavu, well-known lawyer, someone who's often seen in the High Court as an instructing attorney representing high-profile people, has been roped in here to represent the former head of crime intelligence, General Agnes Machele. We spoke to him a little while earlier just about the technicalities of this case, and he's saying that he's just been brought in. He's not sure whether they'll need more information from the state, but let's take a look at the rest of the comment and what Mr. Zola Majavu had to say.
It is not up to us to prove our client's innocence, but the responsibility rests on the prosecution to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt. They have preferred a multiplicity of charges, some of which, in my own view, do not really relate to my client, but that is their call. All I can put it to you is that based on the instructions at my disposal, we do believe that we will be able to defend our client to the best of our ability and within the prescripts of the law. And let the state worry about the strength of their case. I'm not in the business of running my trials in the media.
As Zola Majavu speaking to Newzroom Afrika outside the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court here in Pretoria, where we're coming to you live. Only this case is important because it goes to the heart of what the President says is the rebuilding of capacity of the criminal justice system in South Africa. And the success and failure of the state in this case will determine whether that plan or project, which is at the heart of renewal, is on track. The state, of course, appearing confident, but we haven't gotten to court just yet. It's back to you, Oli.
Govan Whittles, thank you very much for that comprehensive update.